We'll come back.
You're live, Tony.
Third Sunday Right. Third Sunday Right is a virtual space where it's not really a workshop. It's kind of like a workshop. There you find writing prompts and enjoy the company of other writers online. Members visit a private Facebook page to respond to prompts that are posted monthly. If you are interested in participating, you should contact Shauna Ritter at shauna747@gmail.com. I want to mention a couple of things coming up tomorrow right here at Backspace. This is mostly just self-promotion, but it's a lot of friendlies and people that are both sponsors and friends of the Writers Guild. Right here, Friday, May 10th at 7 p.m. at Backspace, the Urban Deer Performance Series continues with 3 acts. Our good friends Ortet, along with KBB from Toledo and Bubba Fontaine from Indianapolis. That should be a killer show. So that's tomorrow right here at 7. And then Saturday is our business meeting at 3 at the Monroe County Public Library, room 214. It's also on Zoom. Don't go to talk about poetry. Don't go to talk about writing. We're going to talk about running a 501c3. So it's only the fun stuff. And then the last Sunday poetry reading and open mic this month is Sunday, May 26th at 7 o'clock at Morgenstern Books over there on Automall Road. And that will be featuring our own Jonathan S. Baker. He's not really our own, but Jonathan S. Baker and Teresa Roy coming up from Evansville. And next month, right here for the Spoken Word series on Thursday, June 13th at 6, that will feature Joseph Kirschbaum, who I think is reading tonight, if he's here, I'm not sure. Joseph Kirschbaum, myself, Tony Brewer, and Jason Ammerman, with music by Kyle Kloss and Julian Douglas. All this information is available on our website, which is www.writersguildbloomington.com. We're also on, I don't think we've given up on Twitter, X, whatever, but we're on Instagram and we're on Facebook. So find us there. And sign up for our newsletter, all that good stuff. So we're kind of back to the beginning now that the audio is happening again. My name is Tony Brewer, and along with Joan Hawkins and Kyle Kloss, I'm producer of this, the Spoken Word series produced by the Writers Guild at Bloomington. Tonight is a special program. We're featuring a sampling, because not everyone could get here. Some folks are very far away. A sampling of folks who had pieces accepted to be published in the RYDER Magazine 2024 poetry issue. I have been editing that issue for the last 2 years, 2.5 years, almost 3 years. And Peter Lapalato, the Alpha and Omega, the editor-in-chief of the RYDER Magazine, as well as the curator of the RYDER film series, passed away suddenly in March. And after some back and forth with the production staff, they have put the magazine on hiatus, but they still have an intention of doing something with it later this year, and have said that they will gladly publish the poems when that happens. So I'm hopeful that it's still going to happen, but we still wanted to have our traditional showcase of folks because we weren't sure when it was going to happen. And I will say that if it happens before Labor Day, we can do a showcase at 4th Street at the Spoken Word stage there, like we've done in the past. That's my plan anyway. So I thank so much, everyone, for being here. The last thing I mentioned before we really get to the good stuff and I can stop talking is our reading order for tonight. There's been a handful of cancellations, so I'm kind of monitoring things as we go, but the reading order, if you didn't see it, I posted it earlier today, will be Lilan, Mary, Peter, Brian, John, Joan, Jonathan, April. Is Jody here? Fantastic. Hiromi, Antonia, and then we'll take a break. And then Joseph, is Kirschbaum here? I don't think he's been here yet. Zelia, John Cook, I think John's here. Joe Kasasi, also not here. Lisa couldn't make it. I think that's, and James and Terry. So, okay. So we may be a little top heavy before the break, but I think that's fine. we'll just work with that, if everyone's okay with that.
Do you have me down there, Tony?
I do, yeah, you were toward the end, I kind of went, yeah, James Dorr and Terry Sloan. But first, I wanted to bring up our musical guest for this evening. Chris Barth lives in Brown County, Indiana, and makes music that explores the mysteries and wonder of nature. He plays in the Impossible Shapes, Glitter Brains, the Ballroom Roustabouts, and Geodize. Please welcome Chris Barth.
Thank you for having me. This song's called Follow the Deer. I'm at home in the hills. I'm wise in the hills. Ridges above me, hollows below. Sliding down steep slopes and climbing like a I'm at home in the hills. I hide in the hills, wise and high in the hills. Infinite distance, treasures and more. Mystery greets us at every turn. I'm at home in the hills. I cannot find a clear way through the wood. Oh, when I get stuck in some thorny branch, I follow the deer. I follow the deer. I'm not alone in the hills. I'm not alone in the hills. Eagle above me, either below. Coyote howling at the full moon. I'm not alone in the hills. I need to the hills. I need to the hills. Ever abundant, ever renewed, ever replenished, finding my food right to the hills. I cannot find the way through the wood. Oh, when I get stuck in some thorny brush, I follow the deer. I follow the deer. I'm alone in the hills. I am wise in the hills. Visions above me, flowers below. Sliding down steep slopes that climb up. I'm at home in the hills. I'm at home in the hills. I was inspired by a mysterious kind of long lost folk singer named Sybil Bear wrote a song called I Lost Something in the Hills. And that just sort of inspired me to write that song. I'll play another one, maybe one more before we do some poems. This is called, this is a song I've been working on, just wrote a few months ago, or in the last 6 months maybe. It's called Green Human. My skin is green, I'm green. My blood runs green and emerald fluid. My loyalty is to the queen. My love is green, I'm a green. This world is messy, but you don't need to tidy it up. The kids are fussy, but you don't need to quiet them down. The leak gets larger every day. The liquid green is spilling out. My skin is green, I'm green, you know. My blood runs green and emerald fluid. My loyalty is to the queen. My love is green, I'm a green. And we are medicine and food. We are predator and food. Sometimes the milk can look so green. Some days the sun looks like a giant nectarine. This world is curvy and you don't need to straighten it out. The green is healing, but only if you leave it be. Stains the skin, clears the pain. The liquid green is spreading out. My skin is green, I'm green, you know. My blood runs green and emerald fluid. My loyalty is to the queen. My love is green, I'm green. My love is green, I'm green.
All right, so another hand for Chris Barter. So I wanted to read the short note that I put at the top of the issue. I always put like a little introductory remark. It's just a couple of paragraphs. So beg your indulgence. In the mid-1990s, when I first heard about the Association of Writers and Writing Programs, called AWP, their annual conference and book fair, AWP was relatively modest, maybe 2,000 attendees total, and mostly big-name authors and big-name publishers. Thanks to the internet, publishing, especially poetry, has been so thoroughly democratized in this century. AWP had no choice but open the gates lest the barbarians spend their registration and cocktail money elsewhere. I attended my first AWP in February in Kansas City, Missouri, and it was overwhelming. 12,000 attendees, a couple thousand panelists and presenters, and hundreds of exhibitors, sometimes 3 to a booth, hawking books and dreams of making it big, with the MFA, of course. Random House had enough booth space to have interns install a reading room, complete with naugahyde armchairs and wood grain shelving, while Whiskey Tit Press cozied up to Taco Bell Quarterly and Typewriter Tarot in their 10 by 10, everyone equally lit under highlight LEDs blaring over acres of convention-centered concrete. The only financial winners here are the hotels, bars, and restaurants. Just best to just consider it an investment then in the current batch of literati or in your own future as a writer. Like all conferences, from the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology to Gen Con, the real draw of these nerdy deadlots is to get a passel of like-minded people together and just be together. So one of the AWP highlights for me was an off-site reading at Prospero's Books, an ancient three-story independent bookstore in the heart of Kansas City. Several people in this year's RYDER Poetry issue read to a packed room there. It was the kind of event and the kind of venue away from the industrial anxiety of the AWP scrum that reminds you, expense accounts and manuscript speed pitches be damned, of the more intimate, introverted purpose of poetry. To record in writing observations by thoughtful souls with something to say, and brave enough to tell it slant to strangers, as well as friends, eager to listen. With that, I want to bring up our first reader tonight. And like I said, I'm going in the order that they will appear in the issue. First is Lillian Musselman, is an award-winning poet, playwright, and visual artist. Her sixth chapbook, Staring Dementia in the Face from Finishing Line Press, became available in July 2023. And Marriage Maps and Driven Destinies, a poetry collection co-authored with Mary Sexton, was published by Chatterhouse Press in September of 2023. Lillian?
Thank you, Tony. It's an honor to be here, and I'm happy to be in the poetry magazine with all of you. So my poem is If You Only Knew. I picked up Dylan Thomas's ghost, drinking his weight in words at the White Horse Tavern. Shot by short shot, I swallowed my way into that dark night. Tipsy, he spun exuberant tales and begged to come home with me as a portrait of the artist as a young dog. I never could, I set astray. I lost him somewhere between Alexei and Vonnegut. Barking wits treed my senses with smiles and satire. So it goes, and so on. What is lost? Dylan Thomas's ghost would not give up. In Nick's English hut in Bloomington, Indiana, he resurfaced in the same booth I sat in. Shot by long shot, I swallowed his waggish humor wholeheartedly. How could I turn him away? Didn't, haven't. Now he wants a reward for turning up unexpectedly. He laughs at bats flying low inside my house, cats gnashing at wind through open screens, me calling across wooden floors as he tosses words in midair. As a nut of mixed make, he appears and challenges me to fetch the spirits of birds who with rage are chased into frantic flight. He laps another beer, and his shaggy spirit disappears, shot by excessive shock. I swallow his every metamorphosis, crazy as a howling omen. It's my turn to say something, a charm bracelet for cruising. This poem, he says, well, yes and no. Oh, if you only knew. Thank you.
Next, I want to welcome Mary Sexton, also an award-winning poet with 2 full-length books and 2 collaborative chapbooks. Her newest books are Her Addiction, An Empty Place at the Table by Finishing Line Press, and Marriage Maps and Driven Destinies. Sounds familiar by Chatterhouse Press. Sexton has a Best of the Net and 5 Pushcart Prize nominations. Mary?
Thank you. Glad to be here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I figured. My poem is called What It Feels Like. This commitment to daily writing is not unlike having blood drawn each day, seeing the needle, anticipating the prick of it, through that dense terrain of brain matter, jabbing into the creative surfaces, the wells of ideas, pulling out the stream of thoughts that must be laid onto this paper and transcribed. Words with grace and fervor, with love and forgiveness, forethought and remembrance. Thank you.
Thanks, Barry. Next, I want to welcome, I'm going to try it, Peter Kazmarzik. Is that pretty close?
It's close, you tried, that's.
Peter has lived the last 30 years in southern Indiana. He is always surrounded by cats, one of whom will draw blood if he spends too long writing. He accepts this as the price to be paid for pursuing his craft. He is co-creator of the Captain Janeway statue. Peter?
Thank you, Tony, and yes, it's Ketchmarchuk, but I do not expect anyone to get it right, so that's all right. And in order to keep up with all of you, I do have to say I've been nominated as best poet in the house by the cats. I'm really not sure if I'm gonna win or not, but I'm hopeful. So anyway, this poem, written after one too many drives to the airport, is called Civilization. Welcome to civilization, he said, eyeing the cheap restaurants as strip malls emerged from the fog, lining the highway, ushering in row after row of concrete and neon. Antique shops selling yesterday's junk, a plethora of pop-up stores with cheap Dayglow signs touting the quality of their CBD oil. This is not civilization, I responded, longing to be back amongst the cornfields and pastures of Midwest simplicity. Maybe not, he answered, a touch of petulance in his voice, but I'm hungry, and this is what our world has to offer. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Yeah. Next up, Brian Price. Brian Price is the author of 2 books of short fiction and poetry, The Other Side of the River and Other Points of Interest, and The Old Cart Wrangler, The New Silence and Other Notions. Over his 40-year career as a writer, director, producer of audio drama and audiobooks, Brian has received a Mark Time Grandmaster Award for Lifetime Achievement in Science Fiction Audio and an APA Audio Award for Best Audio Drama in 2017 for In the Embers, and he was nominated for a 2019 Audie for The Old Cart Wrangler Saga. His work has been translated into Chinese, French, and Croatian. He lives in central Indiana, and he's kind of a regular down here. Please welcome Brian Price.
When I got the, saw the call for poetry, they said short, so I went for short. Also, like to say that I've been trying to figure out what my stuff is, and I've come up with the term environmental surrealism, and that's what I'm calling myself. So here's the first 2-line poem. They cut down all the trees. The fences look so much taller. Where there were once glaciers, there are now alligators. Surfs up in Anchorage. And this is the main one. The girl in the hazmat suit has sort of taken on a life of her own. I've been working on a longer version, and I'm thinking about a novella. But this is where it all started. It's 3 stanzas. The girl in the hazmat suit. I'm looking for the girl in the orange hazmat suit. They say that she lives down by the beach. Bloomington has a beach now. Every town has a beach. A while back, every town slid and tilted. Their stadiums crumbled. Parking is limited. Hold still, the girl in the orange hazmat suit said to me. She held out a piece of gray duct tape. The tape stuck to my fingers and my thumb. I couldn't shake it off, and she sighed and she said, "Forget it, it's okay. Let me." She patched my hood. She saved my life. I was already blistering. I'm looking for the girl in the orange hazmat suit. She said she'd wait. She has a scar on her cheek. She's missing 2 fingers on her left hand. She is beautiful. We'll lay down on the beach together. The sand is sharp. It's not nutritious, but everybody eats it anyway. We'll strip naked and burn. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Here we go. Excuse me, I'm gonna mess up John's name too. Is it John?
Krushke.
Krushke, okay. Here we go. John K. Krushke's quatrains are published in a book with doggies on its cover and advanced statistical methods inside. He is a retired professor who has lived in Bloomington nearly 35 years. John?
So I'll be reading 2 poems to you tonight. The first one is a sestina, which is rather long, so settle in, shift now. Before I read the poem, I want to remind you of the sestina form. It's a rather bizarre, complex form. It has 6 stanzas of 6 lines each, followed by an envoy of 3 lines. Now, the final word in each stanza has to reappear as the final word in the next stanza. And so you've got 6 lines in a stanza, and those 6 final words have to reappear in a specific permutation in every subsequent stanza. And those 6 words reappear in the envoy in 2 words in each of the 3 lines in the envoy. Why? Well, I guess this began in the 12th century in France with troubadours who competed to make complex songs. Most fads should fade away, apparently this one didn't. So when I was thinking of writing a sestina, I thought, I'm going to start with the envoy. I'm going to take 3 lines from one of the pop songs that I love. Those 3 excerpted lines will be the envoy. Then I'll take 6 words to be the last words of the stanzas. So the epigraph of the poem is this: with appreciation and apologies to Taylor Swift and her wonderful song, Cruel Summer. And the poem is Cruel Sestina. No rules in breakable heaven. Looking in your eyes, no fools could break even. Feeling this high, there's no falling. I'm floating light out the window. No angel calling and time lingering slow. No candles, no street lamps, sighing into the night. No handles, no guardrails, resigned to the dice. The hourglass frozen, stuck sand ice, refracting the icicles into my eyes. Maybe some summer we can reignite the airborne embers once bonfire high. If you don't see me, you've set your eyes low. I'm the spark floating out the window. I've paid the blizzard. What does the wind owe? Skate on the surface, slip and slide ice. Even the glaciers can see we're too slow, just waiting and watching our love melt in sighs. The heat from my mind in this fever dream high during the chill of this dark, this insomniac night. Gravity's lost and this space stays finite. Round the hovering door and the floating window that sometime fall low and sometime rise high, like the spots in my eyes or the dots on the dice that roll over the table and face up realize that the falling is fast, but the waiting is slow. Shot by that arrow, aim high, but miss low. Breaking a vase in the bouquet of night, marking a flower right between the eyes, while the petals' aroma float out the window. And the rose thorns and arrowheads chopped into dice are swept under the carpet, we flew magic high. Angels are watching, and advocate shy, while devils pretend to take everything slow and keep in their pockets the gambling dice, till everything fades in the shadow of night, and they serenade yearning outside your window until fever compels that you look in their eyes. Fever dream high in the quiet of the night, killing me slow out the window. Devils roll the dice, angels roll their eyes. Okay, one more, last one. This one was inspired by thinking about the solar eclipse. And of course, as you know, during a total solar eclipse, the moon appears to exactly cover the disk of the sun, and it reveals the surrounding gases called the corona. Okay? Corona is Latin for crown, and corona is also Spanish for crown, and is the name of a brand of Mexican beer, which has a picture of a crown on the label. So I wondered about other things, other alignments of things that reveal a surround that we don't usually see. So this poem is called Corona. Once, at a Mexican restaurant, the server placed a basket of blue tortilla chips in front of a bottle of cerveza, blocking all its label but a picture of a crown. The diner sat encantado in this perfect alignment as the chips were eaten and the words reappeared. Once, sitting on his patio during a summer late afternoon, an alcohol blur discreetly veiled his doom scrolling, revealing the canopy of birds and breeze in the swaying trees. He lingered grateful in this shade from the blazing word rage as his buzz retreated and the voices encroached again. Once, whiling in a crowded subway train and staring absent-mindedly at a cell phone held gut high, its touch screen lapsed to dark from lack of contact, exposing, splayed around it, myriad stationary legs. He mused at the irony as no one spoke a word, then sighed as a text relit his screen, an irate I am from her. Many times, at so many places, the darkness of her raging anger aligned directly on her face, blocking all her features but the serpents writhing round her head. He had endured her malice stone-faced before, but decided he would never again stand in the path of totality. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks, John. I want to bring up now Joan Hawkins. Joan Hawkins is a poet, prose writer, and spoken word performer from Bloomington. Her books include School and Suicide and The Burroughs Hour, and she has one CD, Progress. She lives in Bloomington with her cat, Izzy Izu, and is a frequent contributor to the writer. Joan.
So thank you. It is wonderful to be out. As you can see, I'm recovering from an accident, so this is one of my first outings, and I'm delighted to be here. My mother grew up during World War II, and so I wrote this poem based on things that she told me about living through that time, and it seems to be very appropriate because Mother's Day is coming. It's called My Mother's War. World War II, the war. Fedoras, picture hats, an ankle bracelet found in the washroom. That one navy blue suit. We didn't have money, but we knew how to dress. Seams drawn up the backs of our legs, turning skin to silk, legs to hosiery, bad times to good. Cigarettes cadged on the sly, ration coupons left as tips on the table. Women, not always friendly. Men, you had to be careful. Following you home from work, from the trolley, streetlights sluicing their faces, you ducking into a doorway, hiding in the shadows, heart pounding till they stumbled past, whistling Lily Marlene. Silence, food rations, blackout curtains, chicory coffee. Joe, so handsome in his uniform, and the constant fear knot in your stomach, knowing something bad could happen, might happen, would happen, any day now. I thought it was wrong. That Japanese couple on the corner, they took them away. They didn't do anything. Always so kind, watching the baby for me, but no, I didn't say anything. Hid when the men came. My parents were German. I was afraid we would be next. Fedoras, picture hats, mended gloves. Cut down one of your dad's old jackets, made a little army uniform for your brother. So cute. And a kerchief for me. We didn't have money, but we knew how to dress. And the picture shows, oh, the picture shows were wonderful.
Thanks so much, Jim. Wonderful to see you outside, yes. All right, so we're going to change things up a little bit. We're going to have one more poem, then we're going to take our break, or take our have our musical interlude, trying to gauge, half and half, two halves. Is Thomas Nealon here by chance? Okay, just checking. So next one to bring up Jonathan S. Baker. Oh no.
Oh my. I'm
No,
sorry.
you can-
April told me to put that.
Oh, okay.
That's April's.
You're reading in the next half. Okay. I was ready to just dive right in, Ron Burgundy style. Just start going. It's fine. It's all live. Can we take that back, Kyle?
Sure, you want to start again?
Okay, everybody from the top. Okay, Jonathan S. Baker spends his time just barely treading water in the Ohio River just off the banks of Evansville, Indiana. They are the author of several books of poetry, including Thump Thump from Laughing Roman Press and Pressure from Two Key Customs. Please welcome Jonathan S. Baker.
French fries. Wet leaves carpet the trails of the Oshaw Valley, a sink full of potato skins and my knuckles bloody. Dad laughs. Dancing in tidy whities, throws his arms up, lifting his knees high and stomping his bare blue-veined feet. He is the wild man from under the jungle's canopy. The Watash shouts, "Skin a few more! Your mother will be home soon. Dinner will be waiting." This next one, it might sound like I'm reading 3 different poems. Hopefully it does. This is 3 poems from a stormy evening. After the storm's peak, past leaving a snail's trail, white and shades of gray, screaming and moaning, behind the dark horizon, there was only quiet, except for our breathing. Body shining damp, she held me in her arms and asked if I was okay. I answered with words like leaves falling, sleepily to the ground. Tossing earth and walls, gleaming furrow carved, their empty heads rang, crying over missing persons, where strangers live and die in rooms beneath stones, sharing damp air over raw lips, falling limp, slack, deeply relaxed, a victim blessed and dying in the nest of her bosom, sighing, gently released, wavering on her heartbeat to lay amongst the others. After the storm's peak, tossing earth and walls, passing, leaving a snail's trail, gleaming furrow carved white and shades of gray, their empty heads rang, screaming and moaning, crying over missing persons. Behind the dark horizon where strangers live and die, there was only quiet in rooms beneath stones, except for our breathing, sharing damp air over raw lips, bodies shining damp, falling limp, slack, deeply relaxed. She held me in her arms, a victim blessed and dying, and asked if I was okay in the nest of her bosom. I answered with words, sighing, gently released, like leaves falling, wavering on her heartbeat, sleepily to the ground, to lay amongst the others.
Thank you, Jonathan. I think now we're gonna have more from Chris Barth, our musical guest this evening. At this point too, if you'd like to freshen your drink or have a snack from the table up front, feel free. But please welcome back Chris Barth.
Okay, the song's called Strawberry Moon. June is the name that she gave you. Green is the way that you start. Clear as the color she made you. Mean as a hummingbird flight. She turns to me and says so sweetly, I think it's a strawberry moon. I see the red berries ripe, but I think it's a strawberry moon. I see the signs in the street and I chant along with the crowd. We're marching along in the heat and wondering what more can be done. She turns to me and she says so sweetly, I think it's a strawberry moon. I see the red berries ripening, I think it's a strawberry moon. Night is the time when we lie down. Truth can be seen in the stars. Dark are the days we are living. Strong are the hearts of the young. She turns to me and she says so sweetly, I think it's a strawberry moon. I see the red berries ripening, I think it's a strawberry moon. I think it's a strawberry moon. June is the name that she gave you. Green is the way that you start. It's clear as the color she made you. Mean as a hummingbird flight. She turns to me and she says so sweetly, I think it's a strawberry moon. I Well, it was you all along. Diamond, diamond, making footprints in the mud. Diamond, diamond, nothing else. Diamond, diamond, you were playing along. Diamond, diamond, what about the effort you gave? What about all the good friends you made? You were all good too. Diamond, diamond, you forgot it was you. Diamond, diamond, because you wanted to play. Diamond, diamond, you designed that room. Diamond, diamond, and what remains after all the change? And what is love and all of the pain? You were all regret too. Diamond, diamond, you forgot it was you. Diamond, diamond, yes, it was you all along. Diamond, diamond, it was you all along. Diamond, diamond, it was you all along. And what about the effort that you gave? And what about all of those good friends that you made? Well, we're all regret too. Diamond, diamond, you forgot it was you. Diamond, diamond, yes, it was you all along. It was you all along. Thank you. So I really recently listening to a lot of pop music and really wanted to write like a positive, motivational, uplifting pop song. I don't know. I just really wanted to do that. So that's what this song is. It's called You Can Be Better. Or yes, You Can Be Better. Every yesterday, every mistake that you made, that you find a new way. You can be better. step you will find a better way to behave. Now that the stars are finally aligned, I wanna be more than just some guy. Now that the sun is starting to rise, I wanna share light with everyone. It's never too late, you never arrive. You can do more than just survive. Now that the weight is finally tired, you can share a little light with everyone. Yesterday, every mistake that you make helps you find a new way. You can be better than you were yesterday. Baby step by baby step, you will find a better way to behave. Now that the stakes are incredibly high, I wanna do more than just get by. Now that the sun is starting to rise, I wanna share some light with everyone. A little bit better, even just a little bit is worth the effort. You can be better than you were yesterday. Baby step by baby step, you will find a better way to behave. Well, from monkeys to Mars, the snake from time. We wanted to be more than primordial slime. Dancing the night, the flashing of light. We wanna share it all with everyone. It's never too late, you never arrive. You can be more than just survive. Now with the weight is finally tired, you can share a little light with everyone. Share a little light with everyone. You can be better than you were yesterday. Every mistake that you made helps you find a new way. You can be better than you were yesterday. Baby step by baby step, you will find a better way to behave. Thank you. Maybe do one more before we break. Is that cool? This song is called I Met the Empress. I met the Empress at the edge of the Great Lake. Oh, and nothing called Geodize. From the swerve of shore to bend of bay, I followed her. A skinny sliver of the moon. She's seen a billion years of change I cannot grasp. Volcanic ages of transformation. She saw the ice carve out her bed before thawing out. She witnessed everything with patience. Teach me how to slow time down. Show me all the ways I've been wrong. Hold my hand through the darkest days. Come and last just a little bit longer. Just a little bit longer. She left before the sun did set with nothing said. I tried to keep pace with her. You cannot catch someone like that. Even so, I have to try and find a way. She let the show and it's easy to create. And there is still such great abundance. I think she knows I needed time to see this truth. I'm a dedicated student. Teach me how to slow time down. Show me all the ways I've been wrong. Hold my hand through the darkest days. Help it last just a little bit longer. Just a little bit longer. I'm at the entrance at the edge of the Great Lake. At the invader's name Superior. I hope I don't forget the impression that she made. When an hour comes, I'll think about her. Thank you.
Chris Clark, everybody. This has just been handed to me. And there's no way this could have come from you because it's got a smudgy face and hearts over the eyes instead of a frowny face and like daggers over the eyes. You know, tough guy.
Oh, yeah, that's me.
So, I want to bring up April Ridge. April Ridge lives in the expansive hopes and dreams of melancholy rescue cats. She thrives on strong coffee and lives for danger. In the midst of Indiana pines, she follows her heart out to the horizon of reality and hopes never to return to the misty sands of the nightmarish 9 to 5. April aspires to beat seasonal depression with a well-carved stick and to one day experience the splendor of the cucumber magnolia tree in bloom. April Ridge.
Thanks. I don't have any books, so. Solo in a bar. I don't recall the last time I was solo in a bar. The music just slightly loud enough to meld the conversation, enough to tap the toe, but not loud enough to move me, not engaging enough yet to stop their voices. Just a background lulling men into their comfortable spaces. I don't recall the last time I was completely sober in a bar waiting for a jazz band to begin, without a drink before me, without a little smoke, and the dingy back alley smelling of weed and sometimes shameful decisions. Now it's root beer and checking the cats on the home camera. Now it's sadness at the temporary situation of one toothbrush in the medicine cabinet, one deodorant in the shelf below, no one waiting for me when I get home. Just a short trip to Ohio. No sad love blues to behold, to soak our bones in woe. Just a few more songs before I head completely collected toward the door.
Thanks, April. I'm going to try this one too, but I think I got it. Is it Joey Wanchik? Wanchik? Okay, fantastic. Joey Wanchik is a poet and musician based in Bloomington, Indiana. His work has appeared in And Change, Frozen Sea, The Shore, and Hello, Mr. Magazine. Please welcome Joey.
Actually, I have a couple more things to add to the bio now.
Oh, cool.
I have a micro chapbook coming out this summer for Ghost City Press. It's digital, so it'll be online. And I've lived in Bloomington for 13 years and I'm moving away now, so it was wild. I will be attending the MFA program at the University of Oregon. This is a poem called The Town Made of Ash. Adult men here dip cigarettes straight into full coffee mugs to put them out when families with children walk through diner doors. You'll usually spot them there, across from the dilapidated theater where 3 people were murdered in 1978. Main Street had a gaping scar for a decade and a half before it was finally paged shut. Next to a headstone in a graveyard of marble blocks aligned lies a cornfield with a felled tree still reaching its hands up to the sky. But I keep thinking of ashes floating in black mugs. Men eat their hearts at breakfast before they depart to the giant farming facility in the county below, where everyone knows everyone, their own little world spinning inside of this one. An elderly woman sits in the shade of her black walnut tree, passing her days watching other townspeople go about their lives. She also knows of ashes and coffee mugs, and she, like me, is floored when someone waves, asks what history she lived. A speck on the map, so small, impossible to find by chance. One hand wipes off the ash, a faceless smudge erases all that lies beneath it.
Congratulations. Next up, Hiromi Yoshida, author of 5 poetry chapbooks. Hiromi Yoshida is a finalist for the New Women's Voices Poetry Prize and a semifinalist for the Gerald Cable Book Award. She coordinates the Last Sunday Poetry Reading Series for the Writers Guild of Bloomington. Hiromi?
This is a poem that is based upon a first line that was provided by a journal saying that, okay, write a poem based upon this first line that we will provide you, and we might consider it for a publication. Well, I wrote the poem, I submitted it to them, they rejected it, and their rationale was that, well, it's different from everything else that was submitted. And I'm like, but anyway, I submitted it to RYDER and it was accepted. Since that issue has not been published yet, I am going to read it from my forthcoming chapbook, Green Roses, Green Roses. It's called Shrove Tuesday. All the lawns on Mentone Avenue are mowed on Wednesdays. To do so on any other day is inconceivable, sacrilege. So she would wait, as usual, till the following Wednesday. Despite the encumbrance of inconvenient calendar days, she laid down her shears, perspiring after clipping off the heads of overblown wild roses, grass growing above her itchy hands. What day was it? She gazed through sprinkler mist down the length of Mentone Avenue. The neat little houses with their green square patches of lawn, unshuttered windows like the sockets of skulls watching her. aphids crawling among the browning white rose petals bothered her. More so the thickening, unkempt, withering grass. Shouldn't she level the green line of her lawn to match her neighbors down that beautifully uniform, sunlight stretch of Mentone Avenue? So today must be Wednesday. Why, every day is Wednesday. While weeding days winding through all the lovely encroaching wilderness, the lawnmower buzz, the ravenous buzzard, fragrance of freshly cut mingling, grass mingling with the stink of beheaded roses, already compost. She felt the lawnmower's rattle in her throat. The noonday sun a receding black dot. She suddenly remembered. It was Shrove Tuesday.
Thanks, Romy. Next, I want to bring up Antonia Matthew. Antonia Matthew is a member of the Writers Guild of Bloomington. She is the author of Antonia's Homefront, a transatlantic audio theater co-production of political art in London and the Writers Guild. It premiered on WFHB's Firehouse Theater on October 9, 2022, directed by Richard Fish of WFHB. It won a Gold Award for the Here Now Palooza Showcase in 2023. Antonia.
Thanks, Tony. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. I'm going to read two poems, one from this year and one from last year because it honors Peter. So this is this year's poem. Seascapes. The wind off the grey sea passes through the sharp-edged dune grass, rattling it, tossing sand and salt spray on my skin, and I lick my lips with a sharp grittiness. The incoming tide is filling the rock pools, swirling the dark seaweed. On this California coast, the land looks away towards the horizon, as if yearning for another shore. I feel unbalanced at this land's final edge. Once I stood high on the rocky island of Patmos. Under my feet, the cave of the prophet who spoke these words. In the sea of glass mingled with fire, every island fled away. And I, surrounded by islands scattered on the smooth, bright sea, imagined lifting my arms, crying out to the islands, I am ready to flee with you across the fiery sea of glass. In North Cornwall, the coast is jagged. Headlands jut out into the incoming cloudy waves that collide against these bleak shores again. The cliffs, the fallen boulders are worn away as the relentless sea erodes them. I crouch on the cliff top, looking down, and the sweet smell of time crushed under my feet cannot comfort me. One day, the sea will drown us all. I'm sorry.
Don't forget your glasses.
No, I'm going to read one more poem.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, I'm going to read one more. Okay, this is. You're trying to show me off. This is from last year, and it's in honor of Peter. So it's our time. It's called A Cat's Tale. Once upon a time, there was a print shop run by a young man. A ginger-haired kid lived in this shop. His name was Mouse. I always chose this shop because I like to visit with Mouse. One day, the young man said, "I'm closing the shop and moving. Could you take Mouse?" I said, "I have 3 cats already. Sadly, I cannot take Mouse." But I went back for the last time and asked about Mouse. Another customer took him, the man who runs the RYDER. I was glad. Then weeks later, I saw Peter in the street. "How's Mouse?" He looked surprised. I laughed. "Joe told me you took him." Peter nodded. "Mouse is doing well." The years go by, we continue to have this conversation. I love to say, "How's Mouse?" The joke always pleases. And today, we're both in Soma, hardly believing it possible. Haven't we done this routine for 20 years? I ask, "Do you still have Mouse?" Peter smiles. "Yes, I do." I smile too. I'm happy. And I'll tell Peter, "I'm glad you still have Mouse." I love remembering all the times we've talked about him. We go about our separate businesses. I carry this delight with me throughout the rest of the day. I write about it this evening, still pleased by this piece of shared continuity. My cat, Blue, who is not, sits on the table watching me. His nose has a drop of moisture ready to fall onto this page. Thank you.
Thank you, Tonya.
Yes. Zilia Belkonsky-Sayas, PhD, is a Bloomington-based writer and actor. She is published in Comparative Women from Louisiana State University, and she has a poem included in Trigger Warnings, edited by Jim Hawkins and Kaylin Huffman Bauer. The play she wrote with Wild Swan Theater, Myths, Masks, and Magic, World Stories of First Times, was performed in Michigan schools and libraries and at the University of Michigan Museum of Art. She was given readings at the Writers Guild, at Bloomington Spoken Word events, and a PhD, she has a PhD in folklore studies from IU and works for the Hutton Honors College at IU as an academic advisor. Please welcome Zilia.
How's that? Oh. Philosophers on the Square. On the corner of the square of Seminary Park, a dirty, raggedy clad man stands holding a rough piece of cardboard. What is written does not matter. What is echoed is, "Help me." Between the tents now torn away and the ragged shelter of cloth and patches of plastic, the philosophers at Seminary Park lounge on the grass between the few tall trees and the slim concrete sidewalks marking the edge of the park from the public roadways in this remnant of a space marked as historic. In ancient Athens, public speakers and entertainers, philosophers and prostitutes mingled in the open air to pass the time, deliberate the possible democracy, beg for a daily meal or scrap, and speak the ways that a city could be ruled. Were the shiftless, even if wise, criminalized, evicted, stigmatized for their open-air rantings? The peddler at the corner of Walnut and 2nd holds his cardboard sign out towards the passing cars, the drivers averting their eyes or beckoning so that he walks up to the car window, receives his token, and passes further along the line of the drivers in cars waiting for the light to turn to green. Thank you.
Door, James Door's Avoid Seeing a Mouse and Other Tales of the Real and Surreal is a January 2024 release from Alien Doodle Press. Other books include his 2013 Bram Stoker Award nominee for fiction collection, The Tears of Isis, and Tombs, a chronicle of latter-day times of Earth, along with his all-poetry title, Vamps, a retrospective. Dorr currently harbors a goth cat named Triana and counts among his major influences Ray Bradbury, Edgar Allan Poe, Allen Ginsberg, and Bertolt Brecht. Please welcome James Dorr.
Hi. My influence on this is actually a little less exotic. There's a class of poems, sometimes called Little Willies, that were popular at the beginning of the 20th century, which generally have to do with a young boy, either accidentally or on purpose, falls afoul of one of the societal norms of the still Victorian society. As an example, and it usually comes to grief because of this, but the narrator is completely blasé about this because the important thing, of course, is the lesson. As an example, Willie on the railroad track did not hear the whistle squeal. Now the engine's coming back. They're scraping Willie off the wheel. So this is a longer, more elaborate poem, but I hope it picks up a little bit of that spirit, called Scientific Method. Willie got a chemistry set. He opened the box on Christmas morning. He didn't understand it yet, but the smile he gave should have been a warning. He mixed up bombs, he mixed up potions. One of these poisoned the family cat. But then he got a sudden notion to blow up Grandpa Charlie's hat. We still have Grandpa Charlie with us because his head's as hard as stone. But dampening the joy of Christmas, all we found with Willie after was his shoes and a piece of bone. Then Sis proclaimed, the little sinner, singing glee up to the rafters, putting things into perspective. Hey, that's one less mouth to feed when we sit down to Christmas dinner.
Thanks, James. Terry Sloan worked for 40 years as a technician, engineer, physicist at the Indiana University cyclotron. A lifelong cinephile, he has rode, raced motorcycles, and built and flown acrobatic airplanes. His poetry is influenced by the beats, existential philosophers, movies, and cosmology. Terry?
So, I always fancied myself a wild-eyed wanderer, a desert roaming mumbler. I never called myself a poet. That all changed when I entered the poetry slam at the Bishop Bar twice. The purpose of a poetry slam is not to win, it's to engage the audience with poetry by appointing them judges. I was awarded third place both times. That was out of 3 contestants. So I wrote this poem about the experience. It's called Poetry Slammed. Judged, second runner-up, a poet of the 3rd rank, just a foot soldier in this world of words, a grunt with a groan, lifting up my essence, the question at the core for evaluation. Judged gently, gently judged, a poet. Judged as a poet, judged a poet, a twister of words, a conjurer of worlds made of breath, a stumbler on the crooked path, a talker of wonder, a risky wanderer, a dice-rolling, crap-shooting leaper before the look, a pusher, a prodder, a poker, a tanglefoot entertainer. In the court of public opinion, a certified fool. I stand before you, judged as a poet, that glorious appellation at which I madly grasp, with nothing but a handful of words tossed into the night.
Thanks, Gary. You know, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So I'm glad you went. I'm glad you went. I want to close up the poetry portion. We'll have Chris come back up and close us out with a song. This is by my friend Jason Riedberg, who lives out there at the Osage Arts Community in Missouri. And this is the last poem of the issue, so I wanted to close out with this one. I'll read his bio too, because it's not quite as entertaining as April's, but it's pretty good. Jason Riedberg is the author of 18 books of poetry, 6 screenplays, a few short stories, a box full of folders, notebooks, and scraps of paper that could one day be loosely construed as a novel, and a couple of angry letters to various magazines and newspaper editors. He is currently an artist in residence at both the Prospero Institute of Disquieted Poetics and the Osage Arts Community, and is an editor and designer at Spartan Books. His latest collection of poems is Fence Post Blues from Riverdog Press 2023. He lives part-time in Kansas City, Missouri with a rooster named Little Red and a billy goat named Giuseppe, and part-time somewhere in the Ozarks near the Gasconade River, where there are also many strange and wonderful woodland creatures. This poem is by Jason Riedberg called Parking Lot Opera, or Come Back to the Dollar General, Harry Dean, Harry Dean. Should I try and do a Jason? Should I try and do a Jason Riedberg? He sounds like Tom Waits, he does. And not like Charles doing Tom Waits. Like he actually sounds like Tom Waits. Tonight, with the sun nearly settled all the way down at 5 o'clock and the sodium lamps starting to flicker on, the general store parking lot has been transformed into the stage for a postmodern opera, wherein your fellow cast members are plaster mannequins and the moon is a tin pie pan like the ones they used, allegedly, for UFOs in Plan 9 from outer space by suspending them from fishing line and then directing the actors to point up at the sky in confusion and wide-eyed wonderment. And then the last payphone in America is ringing suddenly. And that's when you realize the theater is empty and you seem to have forgotten your lines. Thanks. Welcome back, Chris Bart. I said Chris Rawl. Chris Bart.
Thanks so much for having me. This song is called We Are Such Tree People. You quaking like an aspen, our love is everlasting. Holding on together for true life. I know dangers of grace when we too tight. We bear the wind and share the light. Split me open, exposing my inside. Shake my leaves, shake off my sleeves. Down on my knees. Life can feel like a leaf on the breeze, or it can seem like a big tease. We choose our path, we always double check our math. We'll stick around for the aftermath. I'll bear the wind and I'll share the light with you. I'll watch you grow and I'll be growing too. Into the peaks, into the release. We are such tree people doing as tree people do. We are such tree people doing as tree people do. Living in the shade of our own making. We are such tree people doing as tree people do. Living in the shade of our own making. Living in the shade of our own making. dear life. I know the dangers of grasping too tight. We'll bear the heat and share the sights. We'll sink extremes no one could ever prophesize. Break a branch, ours is a game of chance. We are such tree people doing as tree people do. We are such tree people doing as tree people do. Living in the shade of our own making. We are such tree people doing as tree people do. Living in the shade of our own making. Living in the shade of our own making. And we were quaking like an aspen. Our love is everlasting. Our love is everlasting. Our love is everlasting. Thank you so much.
First part, everybody. Thank you for being here. And thank you to all of our contributors to this year's poetry issue of the RYDER magazine. Keep the faith, because I think it's coming. I think it will actually be physically printed at some point. And so again, thank you all for contributing. Thank you for coming tonight. I wanted to mention too that 3 years ago when I did the first one, I edited the first poetry issue, Peter approached me. I didn't approach him. He approached me and asked if I wanted to work on a poetry issue, that I edit the poetry issue for him. And so that was kind of Peter's thing. He didn't just scoop up, people doing self-promotion, or, he was always on the hunt for a story. He was very generous with space in the issue. If you had a good idea, something that you wanted to write about, something that would take time to develop, he would wait years for you to come up with something and to flesh it out. And if it was going to be really long, he said, well, let's put it out over multiple issues. So it was a very generous soul, and he's dearly missed in the community. And I think reverberations are going to be felt for years to come with him gone. So we're all thinking about him tonight. And thank you once again, everyone, for being here. Be sure and come back here tomorrow. I'll be making music here tomorrow, but be sure and come back next month on June 13th, where Kyle Foss and Julian Douglas will be our musical guests, and our features will be me, Tony Brewer, along with Joseph Kirschbaum and Jason Ammerman. Thank you all for being here. Have a good night.